we are so anxious and we're so depressed, and we take this with us throughout our daily lives, causing harm to ourselves because we don't know how to get through, we can't relate to, we don't understand, and we want to save these people from themselves. But we got to understand that they're doing something they think that is going to make them feel better. So in a way, they're trying to help themselves. They're trying to alleviate some kind of suffering.
Don't drink, don't smoke, I'm a healthy chick. I like a brother getting money, kinda wealthy shit. Don't want a dummy looking bummy or a beta bitch. I need a honey who will love and give me crazy dick. All I do is think about the bag. All I do is dream about the cash. 2 steps to the motherfucking side as I glide past. If you ain't reaching for the sky, then you ride last. I'm ready for the limelight. My hands rock steady cause the time's right. Billy born Betty, I'm the boss type. Looking for the heavy kinda king-like. I'ma get it how I get it till my heart stop. Get it how I live it till the mic drop. Hustle for the winner when I do.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Phoenix Novell, and thank you so much for tuning into another Boss Bitch Tips episode. Now, this episode is called When Someone You Know Cuts to Cope. This is a topic that it's serious, okay? And it's serious because it hit me hard when I realized that I was friends with a few cutters, okay? This is a serious video, and I just kind of wanted to shed light on it because I was taken aback when I realized how people who cut themselves, people who harm themselves, people who have this habit, they don't look a certain way. You know, they're not just like, they don't look like they're depressed necessarily. They don't look like they're like going down the wrong path in life or spiraling out of control. These are people who you talk to every day. And I make mention of it actually, I believe, in my book, The Boss Bitch Playbook, where I actually discuss 3 people that I know that were close to me who actually do this. And I had to make a video about it because I was just so confused. I was confused because these are people who I would go to for advice. These are people who I would see smiling and happy, and 2 of them were musicians. And when I saw, you know, I think they were all on people's wrists. But when I saw them, one of them had like a whole bunch of bracelets on, and then, you know, she was doing something I just seen. I was like, whoa. And I never said anything. You know what I'm saying? Another one, it was just obvious on the side once I got close enough to see. And another one kind of like went through a situation where she just was posting videos of herself cutting. And it was just very hard for me because it's not a world that I come from. I've never been that kind of person, and I didn't grow up seeing that. So I was just, as an adult, just like, wow, how do you handle this? What do you do when you know somebody who otherwise seemed fine doing something like that to themselves? You just don't understand what the reason is. And it's not something that you, like, some people don't know how to broach the subject. They don't know how to call attention to it. They don't want to embarrass them. And so for me, I was dealing with just such a slew of emotions of how to handle. Do I say anything? Should I say anything? Is it my place? Will it make them nervous? Was it an accident? Do they not care? Why didn't they cover it up? You know, and one of them actually said, well, I know you saw, you know, and I was just like, oh, that's what that was. Just that whole awkward conversation of, so yeah, you know, like you don't always know how to deal with it. So I made this video just to kind of like shed light on some of the things that I've realized when it comes to having close people in your life that do stuff like this. So the first thing is that you cannot shame them. You know what I'm saying? You cannot come from a place of wow or overwhelm them with your emotional disposition. You know, it's like, well, why? I don't know. Like, you can't come at them from a place of not understanding and a place of demanding that they tell you why or you know, come at them like it's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? With all this judgment. If you're going to even consider bringing this, then it needs to be from a place of being as neutral as possible to whatever their response is. And if that response is ignoring you, if their response is let's dig in, dive in, and let me tell you all about it. If their response is help me, I need help. If their response is mind your effing business and the anger, you have to be as neutral as possible so that you don't make it about you. Because when you make it about you, you're not really helping. You're just shaming in a different way. It's just another form of, because of you, now I'm in pain. when you probably intentionally just wanted to help them realize their self-worth, and it's a very different energy, but it's perceived the same way because you want them to feel bad for making you feel bad just because you care about them. So in a roundabout way, it's making it about you. So if you do bring it up, if they bring it up, come from a place of just, and it's an art to this, it's a skill set to this, like where you don't look like you're like pretending that you had no clue, especially if they know you saw it. That was one reaction that I had, where it was just like, it was obvious that I saw it, but I was acting so aloof that it pissed them off, versus another time where I was just like full on intervention, bringing police and banging down doors and trying to get, knock some sense into somebody because they're just going through something and they want, like, you just want attention. So you're saying anything just to see what sticks. That ain't the way either. Because you just don't know where they're going to go from that. And you don't want to be mad at yourself for the wrong thing sticking. You know what I'm saying? Or giving them more fuel to go even harder down this path. Because you don't always know why a person does it. That's the thing. You don't know. Some people do it for attention, which boils down to low self-esteem, right? Some people do it because that was their way of feeling a release or some type of power in a powerless, seemingly powerful situation that they were put in. Some people do it because it was done to them and they just carry it on because it's like, well, this is how I handled that before. That's how I saw somebody else do it. That's what was done to me. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. It's habit by now. Some people do it because they really don't want to be here, but they don't know how to just flat out end it all. There are so many angles to this. And for us to just jump in there and just kind of like put our weight on it is selfish, right? You can't save anybody, and I'm dealing with this topic because I'm getting to a place where I want to publicly discuss my, personal situation with having drug addicted family members and friends, and dealing with the reasons why they use certain methods to cope, and understanding, because I'm saying these things to you guys because I've been there and I've made choices that I wish I didn't make because I didn't understand, and I think there's you gotta, every situation is different, so I can't just say, well, just blanketly do this. I'm saying the more neutral you are, the more helpful it is for them to be honest, for them to feel like they're not going to say the wrong thing and then get a response from you that will send them on the next, drug run or cutting spree or whatever. Like, you have to be responsible. You have to be responsible for what you put out there because you don't know how they're going to take it. And you're confronting them about something that they're doing to themselves that you don't like. So you got to understand, you're coming at them from a place of your dislikes or likes. And when you do, you put your weight on them. And a lot of us, we don't have the intention to hurt them. We want to wake them up or jolt them back into, loving themselves, or we have good intentions. But again, you don't know how your intentions land, and you're not always aware of what the outcome is going to be or what their takeaway from it is going to be. So you got to consider all those things. And some people are just like, you know what? Let me just not say nothing. And maybe that's just the way, so that they don't feel like they can't be around you, or that you're going to be scolding them or trying to make them feel bad about their choices. You have to figure, you gotta know them. You should know them. You know what I'm saying? Enough to know what the possibilities are and where they tend to go by default whenever they're confronted with truths that they may not want to really deal with hearing from you. When you're not from that world and you don't understand it, you have to play that position. You got to play that part. You have to realize that it doesn't make any sense to you, but it doesn't mean it doesn't make any sense to them. It doesn't mean that they're wrong in their way of expressing themselves. And this was another thing I had to realize. Not everybody agrees with the way I live my life, And even though you're saying, I say to myself, oh, I'm being positive. I'm drawing and I'm painting and I'm writing, all these creative things. But other people might say, you're a woman. You should be having babies. You should be married by now. You should be focusing on, maybe you should be focused on climate control. Maybe you should care more about what's going on in this country. And so everybody's going to always have their opinion about what you should be doing better for the world or yourself. And don't think just because the world's idea of what you're doing is good, that means that you're better than somebody else. This is something else that you have to think about. Like, the choices that you make are the choices that you make are the choices that they make. That is their prerogative and their right. So expressing your concern is best done in a way that doesn't come across as condescending or come across as judgmental. And they're dealing with their life. They're dealing with real stuff that they have to figure out a way to carry with them every day. This is something else. You don't know what their life is like. Even if you grew up in the same household, you don't know everything that's going on in their minds. And the more you try to make them explain to you what it is, the more you put that weight on them to have to make sense of what it is. Because sometimes they have no idea. They just know that this makes them feel better. They just know that this makes them happier and easier to be around. And without doing it or without, expressing themselves in that way, they're a drag and they don't want to be a drag. It makes sense to them for some reason, and it doesn't need to make sense to you. So the best way to help somebody who's cutting to cope is to be compassionate. And that's the answer for everything when you really think about it. It's like, understand that you don't need to understand. What you need to do is be the best friend possible. You can say what you feel compelled to say, but the best way to do it is to come from a place of listen. I remember when my godfather, shortly before he passed away, a friend of mine contacted me and said, I don't know, you might want to go visit. You might want to go home and make a visit because I don't think he's going to make it. And this was a man that I adored. He championed me. He made me feel like a queen. He helped me really lean into my artistic abilities. And I remember getting that phone call. Now, I never thought he was a saint. Don't, by any means, I was never like, oh my God, I knew that he had ways. I didn't know they were drug related or whatever, but I knew that he had vices and that he was, he displayed signs of being, being a little less churchly than one would believe. But when my friend called me, I was like, let me go home. I went home and I saw what I saw, and I was just like, wow. I'd never seen him in that place. And it was scary, but I remember saying to him, are you ready to die? You done? I could be sometimes very detached. And I know that about myself. But I can also be very emotionally invested and feel. And I learned that I'm the best, in my opinion, for everybody when I am somewhere in between there. You know, of course, you know, you want a person to feel that kind of compassion coming from you and feel like you do care, but not to the point where they are walking on eggshells around you because they don't want to hurt you anymore. Like, so I felt like dealing with him because of our relationship and the fact that he was older than me and was my mentor for a long time. It got me to the place of really understanding, all right, this is a different situation. He chose this path. He's a grown man. He's been doing this longer than I've been around probably. And now it's gotten the best of him. And seeing that made me more aware of how you have to be. It's best just to be able to talk to people like they're. Sorry guys, my camera completely died on me when I was doing my Boss Bitch Tips video. And I think I wrapped up, I kind of was in the middle of talking about my godfather and how, you know, when he completely went downhill and started using drugs, my approach to the situation when I had to have a conversation with him was one where I was very direct. I was very, I wasn't emotional. And I wasn't like, you know, oh my God, how could you do this to yourself? And how could you? This man was in his 60s. You know what I'm saying? This man knew what he was doing. And I said to him very bluntly, I said, so you ready to go? You done? You through? And I don't know why that was my response. I don't know what made me feel like I should be that way and that was going to compel him. But it was. You know, I knew that knowing this man personally, knowing him all my life, all my teenage life, I knew that he was a good person. I knew that he was somebody who knew what he was doing, you know, and knew the right way he should be going versus where he was going, and that he was taking himself consciously down this road, because his response was, no, I still have a lot to do, but you know, it's an epidemic. And, you know, it's got a hold of me. But he was all there. He was all there. He wasn't giving me no kind of withdrawal symptoms or coming at it like, help him. Like, he wasn't giving no victim vibes. You know, and as he was talking, was like, I'm talking to y'all right now during the day. And I just said flat out, like, you know, is this where you want to be? Is this it? We done? This how we going out? And I think, you know, what I learned later is that throughout his life, he's gone through these kind of like, you know, spells and periods of like dipping and dodging and overcoming. And like, where just like for a long time, he wouldn't touch it. And then he'd go back onto touching it, and then he wouldn't do it. Like, so I think so many people feel like they can overcome it because they overcame it in the past. Okay. And that was just an example of how you deal with people who have these habits, or they know what they're doing. They know that every time they do it, there is a possibility that this could be the end. Now, some people, they don't do it to kill themselves. They don't do it to cause major harm. They just do it because they want a sense of like, okay, maybe they want attention, or maybe they want a sense of just a rush. So if I know that if I cut this main artery right here, I could bleed out. If I know that if I do this whole large amount of this substance, I could overdose. You know, there may be ways that they've learned how to escape or evade actual, you know, being taken out of this place. But then you have some who press the envelope, or maybe now what they used to be able to do without a problem is too much for their system, and then they're gone. But they're all doing it because there's some kind of tension inside of them that makes them feel like it's too much, and that this is going to help them relieve or release this. And I wanted to just help people who are going through situations where they really don't know how to move, you know, and they a lot of times we lose so much sleep. We are so anxious and we're so depressed, and we take this with us throughout our daily lives, causing harm to ourselves because we don't know how to get through, we can't relate to, we don't understand, and we want to save these people from themselves. But we got to understand that they're doing something they think that is going to make them feel better. So in a way, they're trying to help themselves. They're trying to alleviate some kind of suffering. And it's not your place to tell them how they should do it. It's not your place to force them or to punish them when they're trying to go about it in a way that they think is going to make them a better person to be around, a better person to exist in this world, or when they think it's going to help them cope with life a little bit better. And this was one of my biggest problems, is that I just saw, you hate yourself. You why would you do this to yourself? You must not understand and know your value. And that was just me and my ignorance trying to say to you that you have to see yourself a certain way, that you have to look at life this way, and that it has to mean this to you, when in fact I should just be able to show you compassion. I should just be able to project love and want in my heart for you to find your way. So if you're dealing with somebody who is dealing with depression, who's dealing with any addictions of any kind, who's dealing with any kind of issues like harming themselves or wanting to, or low self-esteem, or they're coming to you and you see that there's something wrong, what you should never do is judge them. What you should never do is make them feel like they have a problem and that there's something wrong with them. What you should do, number one, is give them love. You can hug them, you can kiss on them, you can pray with them and pray for them. You can give them numbers to therapists or ministers or whoever, whatever. You can always offer your help, but make sure it's coming from a place of compassion first. A place where you have first gone off to the side and checked yourself so that your judgment isn't spewing all over them and theirs. And I say this, I'm not laughing, but I say this because it was me. I was dating a guy who had a serious drug problem. And I didn't really see it as a drug problem until it was, because he worked 2 jobs. He was a hustler. He took care of his. And I was like, damn, this is the most functioning drug. He told me, he said, I like to do this or whatever with my off. I'm like, oh, all right, well, okay. Look, if this is what that looks like and your life is all together, then who am I to say, hey, because you don't know until you know. And so when I found out that he ain't have it all together like I thought he did, I realized, okay, I don't want to sit here and make you seem like I'm okay with this. But I also realized that stepping in a way where I was going to tell him how to live his life or what to do, it didn't help either. It wound up pushing him further away from me, distancing him further away from me, and making me look at him like he was wrong or had a problem. When in fact, I sometimes eat too much sugar, way too much sugar than I should. And I know it ain't healthy for me. So it's like, if somebody's all in my face like this, what's the difference? The difference is the way we look at that versus that. But it's the same thing. Something ain't right for you while you doing it, because you enjoy it for some reason. So you have to have compassion, because you don't know where a person is coming from, and you don't know what your words, what kind of power they have over a certain person. Not saying that you should have to walk on eggshells, but I am saying that you have to always, before you say whatever you need to say, understand that the person on the receiving end is going to decide how those words land. So you need to be very aware that you are not in control of how they land. So make sure when you deliver them, they come off in a way that feels like love. Whatever you got to do, make it feel like love. All right, and hopefully it really is. But I hope this video has helped somebody. I hope this video helps you have more love in your heart, helps you understand that we all go through things, and helps you realize that a person doesn't always have to look or be or do or have a certain thing to have these issues. They could be suffering in silence. And I was very careful. I remember one time I was very careful when I saw a friend of mine with these with these slices on his arms. I was like, whoa, like in my mind, I'm just like, whoa, I know, I just, but I was very careful because I didn't want to come across like, oh my God, and freak out. But that's exactly what I felt like on the inside. Like, this was not somebody that I would have thought it would have been cutting himself. This was not somebody who came across as like depressed. It didn't look like that. So if I had to judge it, I would say no way. He would know, not him. But I was wrong. It was him. So guys, if you have any ideas or topics for a video, please don't hesitate to email me at askthebawse@gmail.com. ASKTHEBAWSE@gmail.com. I would love to hear your topic ideas. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I would love to cover what you guys want to know about. All right, until the next one, peace and love.
Don't drink, don't smoke, I'm a healthy chick.